beep, beep, beep. Mate, it's lucky she can cook. Wow! Mate, we're going to make this year count, I'm telling you. We're going to have a beauty. We're going to go hard or we're going to stay home. We're going to get off my kitchen bench, get out into the fresh, beautiful air. We're going to go camping, glamping, fishing. I'm going to cook all the way up and down the Murray River in beautiful South Australia. Pull yourselves up an esky, grab yourselves out a coldie, kick back, enjoy the show.
Hello lovelies, welcome back. Welcome to the first video of 2021. Whoa, a bit exciting. Alright, so to start with, I live in a little river town in South Australia. At the minute, it's the Christmas school holidays, and it is absolutely packed up here with tourists. We've got families up and down the whole river, camping and fishing. Now, I've got to say, it's an awesome sight. But for me, I'm going to have to be stuck at home for a few weeks until everyone goes back to school and work, and then I'll get the river back to myself, and then we can go down and really enjoy it. So, while they're all having fun, I've got to sort out a few things to do around the house. I have been camping and fishing on the river in South Australia, up and down it, for the good part of 40 years. I've been doing it ever since I was little with my dad, and I have got lots of tips and tricks. So this video is all about hopefully helping you stay safe, giving you a few good ideas, and maybe saving a bob or two along the way as well. So I'm going to start out first by saying you don't need a lot of money and you don't need to be rich to take your kids camping, all right? And I'll bring it home by just telling you a little story. So when I was little, Dad used to always, every time we go away camping, he'd get an esky and he'd fill it with fruit boxes. Yeah, fruit boxes, right? And every time we went away, we had an esky full of fruit boxes, me and my two younger sisters, and we could have as many as we wanted, and he'd always keep filling it up. So when he'd come up and say, all right, we're going away next weekend, the first thing I would think about is, oh, we're gonna have these fruit boxes. So you don't need fancy boats and jet skis and RVs. You just need an esky full of fruit boxes, all right? Okay, so the first 4 things that can ruin your holiday. First one is mosquitoes. If you live in Australia or you are from Australia, you'd know anyway, but if you're coming to Australia and you want to take all your kids camping on the river, you have to have mosquito repellent. If that is not the first thing you buy and put in your car, glove box or whatever before you go, it will ruin your trip. They are big buggers up here. All right, second thing, snakes. Now, let me just tell you a little bit of story about today. Okay, so I've got all the side of the house ready to go, and I had planned on doing this video out there, so it's somewhere else, nice and different and new and that. Anyway, I had to go out for a while, and I got home, and the neighbour come over and he said to me, listen, we've got a really big, long, skinny brown snake in our area just here. It was out the front of his joint and went down the back. Usually whatever goes in his joint ends up over in mine. So I said to my son, you watch, now that I'm going to say this segment on here about snakes, we're going to have a snake here or something. And sure enough, so I'm not game enough to go out there and test out the new snake kit and that, so I'm doing the video in here. Alright, so the first thing you got to know about snakes in South Australia, I'm not sure about the rest of Australia. I'm pretty sure we've all got the same ones, but I'm speaking for South Australia, right? So we've got the brown snake, the tiger snake, the black belly snake, and the black snake. Now, I'm not sure how venomous the black belly and the black snake are, but we don't see them as often here. The red bellies and the tiger snakes are very similar in their character. Like, they'll go you. A tiger snake will chase you, if it wants to, it will chase you for miles. So, if you see a tiger snake, run and keep running and run as fast as you goddamn can, alright? Because either you or he is going to give up. Now, when it comes to the brown snake is our most deadliest snake. He's at the top of the food chain. So he's pretty chilled because he knows the only thing he's got to really watch out for are hawks. So in Australia, we've got hawks. Say in America, you've got your eagles. So this is like a smaller version of an eagle, but still just as gorgeous. So anyway, the brown snake, that's pretty much his only predator is a hawk. So he cruises around the joint and he knows he's the king of the food chain. He hasn't got a problem at all. So he's not a very aggressive snake. Now, obviously, when they first come out of hibernation and they're hungry, they're very aggressive. That's why when next door said to me it was a skinny snake, I'm really worried. Because and he also said too, he said he tried to get it, but it was really fast. And two things you don't want is a skinny snake and a fast snake, all right? So we're just into our first day of a 6-day heat wave. And I think because there's a lot of people down at the river and you've got all your boats and your ski jets and that going, I think the snakes are like taken off outwards a bit. So I'm guessing we're going to see a few over the next few weeks. So yeah, anyway, so you don't want them skinny and you don't want them fast. So in summer, a snake is really, really fast, and in winter, they're really slow. So they love being under tin and stuff. So say if you're cleaning up your backyard in winter and you pull up a piece of tin and you've got a brown snake under there, you've got a good chance of moving away from it because he's a lot slower. But you do that in summer and look out. So when it comes to the brown snake, if he's not... Unless you accidentally corner one or you step on one because they blend in so well with, you know, tree branches and stuff, he'll pretty like... Alright, so not long ago we were up at a Walker's flat at a friend's right on the river. And I'm walking past, and for some reason I decided to look down, which I like hardly ever do, I don't know why. And as I looked down, I had a brown snake. He was coming up from the river, and he kind of stopped basically from you to me away, and I stopped dead. Now, I was in fright mode because I had heaps of kids running around right near me and adults everywhere. And I'm like, no. And I could not get it out. It just wouldn't come out. So anyway, this dude's just looking at me and I stand really still. And then he just turned around and slowly went back down the way he come up. So as he was about down to the river, snake come out my mouth finally. And everyone's like, what? Because as soon as you say snake, everyone just freezes. Right? Until we work out where the hell the snake is, everyone just freezes. So because I've seen him, we knew to keep an eye out, and about 5 minutes later he comes straight back up again. So that was obviously his path. So the best thing to do there is just to move away a little bit, all right, and they'll do their own thing. So the most important thing that you could possibly get to save you, your family, or even a stranger is a little snake bite kit. All right, now this one here, so you can get all different sorts, okay. I think it's a 4-wheel drive Super Center does one for $100, and it's pretty much the same as this, but it's got like a splint that folds out for your arm. But seriously, this could save one of your lives. It's great if you've got those satellites, phones and all that where you can call out. That's brilliant. I don't have any of that sort of stuff yet, but you need to look after yourself and your family until help can get to you, or until you can get to help. So something like this is $27 at BCF. You can get them online, all right. And what it is, it's 3 bandages. So you could probably go into a chemist or what you could call a pharmaceutical shop, and you could probably buy the bandages and maybe save about $5. But to have it in one of these little kits where it's, you know, good from the rain and everything, and that is just brilliant. So $27 to save someone's life is well worth the money spent. So BCF stands for boating, camping, fishing. Oh, it's so much fun, or something like that. So bcf.com, I think it's .com.au, and at the moment they're, and no, I'm not getting sponsored by them, but I'm doing this because I want to help you guys out, and something like this can make a difference. So bcf.com.au I think is the one. Otherwise, I haven't really seen them any other places. These are for all different sorts of bites and that as well, but we're mainly for the brown snakes. So if you were to get bitten, this on its own will not help. It's the attitude that will go with the way if you're going to live or die, okay? So if you were to get bitten on the arm here, you would get these, and these are like stretchy full-on bandages, and you have to tape it as tight as you can all the way up your arm. If you got bitten on the leg, you start from the bottom of your leg and you do them all the way up to the top of your leg, as tight as possible. So you know when you go in, you get your heart pressure done, and they put that thing on and they squeeze it up until you know, your veins are going to pop, and like, I get so aggro at those bloody things, right? Well, that's the same thing. You want to cut the blood flow. Now, these will only do so much. You have to keep your body calm. Now, your emotions is what sets off your heart palpitations, okay? Now, if you get bitten by a snake and you start running around the joint, your blood's going to start pumping through, and the venom is going to go through way quicker, and you're going to die. Now, if you can stay as calm as you possibly can, it is so important. As calm as you possibly can. If you've got to walk to a car to get to help, or let's just always have a phone and that on you, all right? Because really, you don't want to be walking if you've got bitten by a brown snake. But the most important thing is to be really calm. The calmer you are, the slower your heart rate is, the slower the blood is going through your system, and the slower the venom is going through your system, okay? So it's great to have your satellite phones and that. Definitely get all that sort of stuff if you can afford it as well. But this is your first stop to saving a life. So please, please, go out and get them. Look how little they are. You can put them in your bag. You can put them in a backpack for hiking. You can put them in your fishing box. Like, it's a must-have. Okay, number 3. Now, this is one of my pet hates. Number 3 that can wreck your camping trip is when you get to your camping spot, if you don't get out, you need to get out first before you let your dogs out or your kids out, all right? And really scope the camping ground. Now, a lot of people, when they go fishing, they leave their fishing line and hooks, all their broken stuff, on the riverbank. Now, if you've been one to do it before, just picture that hook getting caught in a little kid's eye or in a dog or something like that. So you off you are at camping, you're not even there 5 minutes, and someone's already got a hook in them. It's really not nice and unfair. So the best thing I can say to you is get out first and have a good scope of your campground. And just make sure, because seriously, if there are hooks and sinkers on the ground somewhere, your little kids or your dogs will 100% get tangled up in them. 100%. And you don't want to go straight to the hospital before you've even set up your tents. Like, it's just not right. So hopefully, it's really easy. You know, you just roll up your fishing crap, you shove it in your tackle box or in the boot of your car, and you throw it away when you get home. All right. So that's really, really important. So definitely get out and have a look for that sort of stuff first. Will save yourselves a lot of hassle. Now, the 4th and final thing that will wreck your camping trip is if you forget the alcohol. Yes, we are Aussie. Do not forget that alcohol, and I'll tell you a little bit why later down the track in our next little bit. Now, the next little tip I've got, or trick, is to save you a little bit of money. Now, buying ice these days costs an absolute fortune. It really does. It's like $5, $6, $7 a bag now, and they melt so easy anyway. So there's a little trick you can do to save yourself that first $15, $20 odd dollars when you first go away. Obviously, you're going to top up with ice while you're going away, but to start with. So what you want to do is you want to get yourself the 2-litre. These are like the plastic milk containers or your iced coffee containers, whatever. And as soon as you finish using them, rinse them out really well, wash them out, fill them up with nice fresh cold water. Now, you only want to fill them till there, okay? This way, when you put them in the freezer, they'll expand, but they won't split open at all if you leave that gap. Put the lid on and freeze them. I usually do this a few weeks before I go away. Now, I always take 2 eskies when I go camping. I take 1 for food and 1 for drinks, because your food esky doesn't get opened up as much. You only use that when you're cooking, whereas your other esky's always gone. So it's great to have 2 of them. Now, if you wanted to put these in your drink esky, so what you do is you get a knife and you cut around the top once it's frozen. You tip it upside down and smash it all around with a hammer, and all the ice will fall out in big chunks, and that is perfect for your drinks. And I'm telling you now, the ice will last a lot longer than the bought ice will. Now, when it comes to my food, like my food esky, I leave them frozen like this, and I put them in my food esky like this. The reason I do that is they're frozen for ages doing them that way. It keeps all your food cold without anything going soggy from the water and that. So it's a great first thing. You've already saved yourself $20 before you've left home. You've got both eskies full. Now, the great thing with doing this is, as it thaws out, if you need fresh water to drink on the way for the kids or whatever, you've got it. Once you get there, once it's all melted, you can then use the water for your cooking, drinking, whatever you want to do. Then, once the bottle's empty, you can then use the bottle. You just tighten the lid up, and you can use it as a float for your yabby nets. So you can get 3 uses out of 1 plastic bottle of water. Like, how brilliant is that? So if you're, for instance, with the yabby nets, if I'm putting them where I'm camping, I don't worry about putting the floats on if they're right there near me. But if I want to put a few down a bit further or across the river in a creek or something, you have to put a float on them, which is one of these. Make sure you take a texter with you, a non, waterproof texter, and you've got to write your name and address on them, all right? So that's just a great way to save you some money. It's awesome in your food ones because, like I said, it doesn't get everything saturated. So many different uses for it before it goes out as a float. So there's another little tip for you that might save you a few doshes. All right. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of kids and technology. Lucky I've got this as an adults only channel, because if any kids watch this, they'll be like, bitch. Okay, so when it comes to kids and technology, we just want our kids to be kids when you go camping. You wanted to get them off their phones or their iPads or their Nintendos or whatever the hell they're on and be kids. So this is a tricky, sneaky way of making it all work. You got to be tough, all right, and you got to stick with it. So a few hours before you go away, you want to make sure all your stuff's charged up, because as an adult, we need our chargers for, safety and stuff, of course. So we charge up everything we need. We always need chargers for, torches and camp lights and all that sort of stuff. Oh, that's another thing I'll show you after. So charge up all our stuff and then hide all of ours in your personal clothes and that, right? Hide all your chargers really well. Then you go around and let all your kids know, all right, you need to charge up everything so it's fully charged for when we're about to go away on our trip. About half an hour, 20 minutes before you go to leave and you're packing all the stuff up, get a little box or a bag and go around and tell everyone they've got to put their chargers in there so they're in the same spot so you can pack them and you know where they are. When nobody's looking and you've got the kids busy doing whatever, you pull that bag of chargers out and you hide them in your kitchen cupboard and you keep packing your car. Once you finish packing the car and everything and you're just about to leave and you're out the driveway, you think, oh shit, I think I might have forgot the oven's on or something. So you dart back inside, you grab the bag and you leave it on the bench, because kids will make sure when they get home that you actually did leave it on the bench, right? So you leave it on the bench, lock up and off you go. So you've got a nice peaceful trip there because everyone's on their phones and their iPads and they're all happy. So you get to camping. I'll tell you exactly how this goes down. It goes down like this every time. So you get to your camping spot, you start setting up and that. It takes a little while and all the kids' stuff starts to go out of charge because they don't want nothing to do with anything. They're just sitting on their phones and that. So anyway, setting up your tents and that, and all of a sudden, we can't find the chargers. They're looking everywhere, everything. They can't find them. Well, shit hits the fan. They'll be spinning around in circles. Their heads will be going 360s. They'll be, oh, I hate you. You're the worst mum in the world. Oh, this camping trip sucks. Oh, my life's got to end. Like, it'll be on. It'll be on for old and new. So depending on how stubborn your kids are as to how long this goes for, okay? So that's first phase, cracking the absolute shits. Then the second phase, a few hours later, is despair. They're in their chairs and, oh, my life sucks and everything sucks and camping sucks and you suck, and that they'll be in absolute despair. Then you've got a couple of more hours later and they're getting up and they're kicking a few rocks around and they're walking past you while you're fishing. It's like, fishing sucks, Walking past, I hate fires. And it's so cute, but they're up and about. So by this time, remember the alcohol? You'll need a drink. Whether you drink or not, by this time of the day, you will need a drink. After a while, they start becoming kids. They're up, like you've got to give them a lot of stuff to do as well. So depending on the age of your kids, always take books and pens and stuff like that away. But have a few things like, all right, so a lot of people like to take, balls and footies and that with them. Now, in summer, that's great because I'm telling you now, every single ball ends up in the river. So in summer, there's not a problem. You just go in and get it. But in winter, it's a real pig. It really is. So something like badminton, I know it sounds silly, but badminton, it's $30 from Big W for like a box with the badminton, the 4 rackets, a couple of the shuttles, I think they're called, in them and that. Something like that where you can smash hard and it won't go in the river. Now, if you've got something like that set up, and you do something where, say, the winner gets up to stay up as late as they want, But you don't say something like, oh, the loser has to do the dishes, because the kids will be like, oh, well, that's not worth it. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not stupid. So just do something like they've got to help with dinner or something. Something not as major that they don't think is a big risk to lose when they're playing the game. All right? So cards we've got here in Australia. Now, this is one fond memory I have of when I was a kid. Is a friend of ours. We used to go over there. There was 3 of us kids and there was 3 of their kids. So there's 6 of them and the 4 adults. So there's 10 of us around a table, a couple of decks, so right? But what this lady used to do, Jill, and it's just an awesome idea, is that everyone had to put something into the middle. So a lot of the adults put $5 in or $10 in, and a kid might put a chocolate bar in, or a card, collecting cards at the time, or this and that, or whatever. And in the end, you've got 10 things in the middle that you're playing for. Now, those kids will not leave that camp. Like if you do it around near a campfire, they will not leave there, because it's a pile of goodies, right? And then you get some broke-ass adults that are like, oh, that $20 is mine. So it works out wicked, okay? And you do it like a point system. If you win this game, you get 50 points. If you're second, you get 25. First one to 500 points wins the whole kitty. So things like that can go for hours. You can take a break in the middle. You still got your score pad there, so pens and pencils are really important. You still got your score pad there. You can go off and do whatever and dinner on that, and then come back and finish the game and that. It's just things to get them into the, and then before you know it, they'll be fishing, and you'll be kicking back and sitting around the campfire, and your kids are actually telling you what's been happening in their lives, and what's been going on at school, and who their best mates are, and who's a bitch and who's not, and you actually get to talk to your kids and that. So be brave. Leave them at home, the charges, and just stay staunch. Stay staunch for that 5 or 6 hours that it goes on for. I mean, you're all playing badminton and you still got that one stubborn little kid walking past. Oh, I hate badminton. But yeah, stay strong and do it. And I'll tell you what, it's so rewarding just to sit back and watch kids be kids. So there's another little tip for you to try and get them off of technology. The Murray River fishing is completely different to fishing on the ocean or anywhere else, all right? The river, you really got to get to know the river. All right, before I get to the fishing, swimming. If you want to go swimming on the Murray River, okay, and you're not used to going to the river and you haven't done it before, the best thing to do before you let your kids go out into the river is to get an adult to walk out first. Because you can go to the river and it looks like you can just walk out into it, right? And the reason I know this is not true is because on my Uncle Nicky's, he's really high up. So some years you'll go there and the river's right up to the top of the trees. And if you didn't know any better, you think you could walk out into it. But when the river's down low, we actually have to hold on to the roots of trees and climb down this big embankment to get to the boat when the river's down and it's that low. So we're talking 20, 30 foot drop. So if you were to just walk out into it at Uncle Nicky's and not know, you would drop 20 feet straight away. So it is really important to get an adult to walk out first and scan the whole area that you want your kids to swim in. So what I used to do when my kids were younger is that I always knew all the spots we'd go, because I go to the same spots everywhere all the time. But I would walk out to a certain distance to where I know, because sometimes it just drops off as well. And sandbars are really, really bad for that. You'll just get big sinkholes and sandbars everywhere. As a kid, I just remember, and then into the next one. I don't know how we survive sometimes. I really don't. Just pot luck, I think. So yeah, so I would walk out until where I knew, the cliff went off or whatever, and I'd stand there and turn around, and the little kids were allowed to swim between the bank and me. And I'd just sit out there with, the ciggy and your drink or whatever, and do that for a couple of hours, and they would be safe as houses there. Because if you get a lot of boats go past, you get a lot of waves come in, and I know you wouldn't think it, but it's a very dangerous place for kids if you're not used to it. So just standing there and having your own little boundary is perfect. And then you can't look away from them either. You're like there looking at the bank, talking away to everyone. They're right in between you. It's just brilliant. So try and do that as well. Now also, when you're fishing with little ones, for instance, so what I've done before is that, like I said, at Uncle Nicky's, where we're up high, when the river's up high, and we're fishing and I don't want the kids to fall in, what I've done is I've got some spare tent pegs and some string. and I've gone like say this far from the edge of it, and I've tent pegged it along and then put the string along there. And all the little kids know they're not allowed to go past that, because you know when you're fishing you get really excited and you want to go up to the edge, and it works bloody well, and the kids stay behind that line, they can never fall in, and your trip is also safe. So the good old fishing rod. Okay, you do not need an expensive rod to go fishing. Now my son, he's in his 30s now, and he's always going out and getting these ute rods and really expensive rods, and I just sit there and I still catch mine off a good old Bessie here, and he's still trying to catch them, right? So you do not need expensive rods. Now this girl, right, she's a beauty. She's a Jarvis Walker. Look at her, all rusty and that. She's been with me for 12 years now. Now I'm telling you, if she could talk, I'd drown her. Alright, so Jarvis Walker, $29 at Kmart. I bought her 12 years ago. I'm still fishing with her today, and I have caught some massive carp on this thing. I've got some awesome photos, but for some reason I cannot get them up on my laptop. They won't come up on it. I'm spewing because I've got some big blokes holding up these carp that are, you know, 3/4 of their body, mate. So the thing is, what I'm trying to get to is Jarvis Walker do make really expensive rods, but they also make really cheap ones, and they make them bloody good. All right, 12 years. So one of the camping trips down the line when we're fishing, I've got to get a new rod because she's almost, you know, had it now. But and I'll show you how to reel the line properly in that then. But just for now, I just wanted to show you quickly. So $29, go out and get a rod between $29 and $40 odd, right? You can buy really good rods for that. Now, when they're cheap ones like this, you don't want the line that's on them, okay? The line that's on them is always crap. For the river, you need really strong line in the river, all right? I couldn't tell you how many times I've gone camping, and I've got a family sitting up next to me somewhere, and they've got their little rods in, and they've got paper thin line on them, and they're breaking all the time, and I go over and I bring over some trusty stuff, and I reline all their lines for them because I love my fishing that much. I can't stand to see kids not catching a fish just because of line, and that's what it comes down to. So when you get your cheap rod, at the same time you get your cheap rod, you get some line. Now this one here is Australian made and Australian owned. I don't know if you can see that. Alright, but basically I normally get around 12 kilo line because I'm a psycho and I absolutely love to catch really big carp. So this is a 20 LB, it'll say on it, which is 9.1 kilo, which is a good decent sized carp. But some carp are massive. Like back in the day when we used to go fishing, the carp were huge. They were longer than a tailgate of an old XP, right? And my dad and that used to shoot them in the water and then go in and drag them out. They were that big. So you got some massive carp out there, and you don't want to miss out on them. I certainly don't. I love carp fishing. Like, everyone will throw their lines in reasonably close and catch fish all day long. I throw mine out miles right into the guts of the river, and I'll sit there and wait for 3 hours just to catch that massive carp. So you want some nice... Now this line here, the reason I like this is because it's really heavy line, but it's thin. See, if you get line that's too heavier line, it's really hard to tie the knots because it's really thick. So the thinner but the stronger you can get it, the better. So I got this one from BCF as well. This was $15, okay? But well worth the money. It'll turn your $30 rod into a couple of $100 rod just by having good line on it. It's so important. So this is called Platinum. It's from Platypus. All right, and there's 300 meters of it. So well worth getting. So get someone you know to help you. Pull out all the old line and throw it away and reline it again. Now when it comes to the way you set it up, I'm really simple. I'm simple stupid. That's what I am with it, and it's always worked for me, okay? For forever and ever. So when I set mine up, I just set it up with one simple sinker. Right, with one simple sinker and just one hook. I love just the one hook. Lots of people love 2 hooks, and you can do that as well, but I love just using one hook. Don't know why, I just do. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you quickly how to set it up. So the first thing you need is decent sized sinkers, all right? You need nice heavy sinkers for out in the river. And the second thing you need, now people go out and get a lot of fancy stuff. I do not do that, okay? These hooks here, alright, see how they're a brassy sort of colour? Okay? They rust really easy. So if you catch a fish and he gets off, that'll rust out of his mouth really quick. Where you get all these new titanium ones and they'll never rust, and that's not what you want, okay? Now these ones here, I get from IGA or Foodland. You can get them from almost all your fishing tackle and bait places as well, okay? So that's exactly what they look like. I always get the biggest possible hook I can. Because if you want a big fish, you need a big hook. Alright, so get the biggest ones you can. And they're already all set up. So that's a lot easier. I hate sitting there and making a whole actual hook up. Okay, so the first thing you do is you get the end of your line. Alright. And you put it through the hole of your sinker. Now, I also use spark plugs. If you've got spark plugs laying around and you've got the end with a little hook silver thing on it, turn it upside down, tap it on a rock or a hard place, because we've all been there, right? Tap it on a rock or a hard place and get that little gap to close up, and then you can string them through the spark plugs just like this, and they are perfect for sinkers. Alright, so we put it through. Once you've got it through, hold the two together, twist your line. Now see how we've made that loop in the middle there? Don't know if you can see, I'm doing like that. Okay, there's a loop in there. So you want to get the end of your line, and you want to, oh, I've got to twist it more because I'm talking. Alright, twist it. Grab the end of your line, put your end of your line through the loop you just made, and pull. Boom, done. Just like that. Then you get it where you want it. Now you don't want to put your hook too close to the bottom, okay? Because these are the pre-made hooks. Most of them are the same anyway. See the length it's got on that already? So if you put that too close to the bottom, all you're going to do is be getting your hook dragging along on all the roots and crap that's all on the bottom of the river, and you don't want that. So you want to give yourself, you want your hook at least, you know, that far, at least that far from the bottom of your sinker, alright? So I'll just let a bit more out. Alright, so there's my sinker. I'm going to go right up to here. So what I do is I get a hole, get it into a loop, tie that loop like you would a balloon. Get a loop, hold it together, tie it like you would a balloon. Once you put the loop through it, alright, pull on it, and you've got yourself a loop. See that? Okay. Once you've got that, you get your hook, you put your hook through it. Once it's through it, hold the hook there and the end of the hook here. Okay, so we've got it through and we've got the two ends. Put your hook through your little loop end on your hook string itself. Pull it down. It always gets caught on the little bit of the hook there, so you've got to try and get it over that little bit of line that's tied on your hook. Once you've got it over that, pull on it. And just like that, you've got your hook. Just like that. There it is on the top. And then you've got your sinker down here. And there you have it, my friends. You have just hooked up the perfect rig for the river. We've got a nice heavy line on that we can catch anything with. Now when we go fishing, I'll show you how to get snags and that off without 9 times out of 10 without breaking anything and getting your line back, all right? There's a trick to everything, and I can't wait until we go fishing, camping. I can show you all that sort of stuff. So that is the basic way you set up your line, and that is all you need. Now, the most important thing, I mean the most important thing when you go fishing. Okay, so I am always the cook when I go fishing and camping, right? And I do not want to miss one fish ever. So the most important thing you can ever buy are bells. Now these are you can get all different sorts of bells. You can get them online, you can get them at stores or whatever. These are my favorite sort. They last forever and they're really good. Okay, so it's a bell and it's got like a clip thing on the end. So what you do is you clip it to the end of your rod. I took my glass off, can't see. Alright. You clip. Alright, so you get it onto the end of your rod like that, okay? So when you're going fishing and a fish bites, so if I've got my back turned and I'm cooking away or whatever, everybody, as soon as you hear that sound, it's like, bell! And you will not miss a fish. You will not. You won't have your, because you can't see it in the river anyway, but you won't have your line in the water, because 9 times out of 10, if the fish are on, it'll take your bait within the first, couple of minutes that you've got your line in the water. But why have your line in the water for all that time with no bait on it if you don't have to? I don't know why, but that bell, they're normally a lot louder. That I might have to beat it up a little bit. But they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, see, that one works better. Alright, so you might get a dub one every now and again. We'll work that out. So, yeah, that's what you hear. Brilliant, isn't it? So, when I'm, like, cooking away and my bell goes off, I've got all the kids and they're all like, hurry up, you got a fish on, quick, oh. And I always go, like, wait a little bit longer because it just stresses them all right out. It's funny as shit. And, they're like, come on, you're gonna lose it. But I always say, if you've hooked one, you've hooked one, right? So the bell is one of the most important things. $1.75, absolutely anywhere. So if you're going fishing and camping in a little river town, I don't know about the rest of Australia, but in South Australia, and you're looking for some fishing gear in that, a lot of towns don't actually have fishing stores in that. You'll find everything at a servo. It's bizarre. Like in South Australia, most little country towns, river towns, have 2 servos. One has all the fishing gear and your bait stuff in there, and the other one's all for food. It's just, I don't know why, it just works out like that. So always go and check out the servos, petrol stations. Always go and check out them first, because one of them will have a massive range of fishing gear and you can get your bait and everything from there too. So that's just a little basic tricks and tips on fishing in the river. Now, one more little tip I've got for you is these little puppies. Alright, these are UHF radios. So, when you get your truckies and they're talking to each other on the 2-ways or whatever you call them, that's what these are. Now, I got these from BCF. Remember boating, camping, fishing? I got them from there. I waited until they had a half price sale and I got them for $75 for the pair. Now, a lot of guys use these when they go 4-wheel driving, so they get stuck. One bloke will get out the car and talk to the other bloke in the car and get them out of their tight spots and that. But these are also fantastic to use at home as well as when you're out camping. I'll tell you what. So I've got like a skinny little driveway here. And if you're reversing a caravan or a trailer or a boat in, it's a really tight squeeze. Now, instead of me having to stand behind there and be in the view of the driver to say left or right or whatever, when I really need to be on the other side and check it out, you can have one of these each and talk away and smoothly reverse anything in. So they're fantastic around the house. Now, when you go down the river, say for instance you're in a shack and you've got a few meters down to the river where everyone's partying or whatever and that, you can leave one of these in there with the kids and you can have one down the river, and if there's any problems you can talk to each other. If, say for instance, you're fishing here and your mate wants to fish right down there somewhere, you can still talk to each other. Or if you're on the bank fishing and the kids get in the dinghy to go across and do some yabbying, you can have one with them and you can talk to each other. If you're in a convoy of people going camping, the front driver's got one and the very back driver's got one. Now the great thing is about this, yeah, you can use your phones, it costs money and it takes time to ring someone. But with one of these, for instance, alright, the kids need to go to the dunny. Oi, stop at the next place, the kids have got to go to the dunny. Or, oi, pull over quick, you just dropped something off the trailer, or the ropes have come loose or whatever. I can't tell you how handy they are and well worth having. And the brilliant things about all these new U-Butte things is they charge with USB. Like, they're absolutely brilliant and it all comes with it. So that's just another little tip of something that's really well worth looking into. Now, last but not least, here in South Australia, when we have fire bans, okay, which is pretty much the whole of summertime, we're not allowed to even use heat beads. You cannot use anything that has embers. So when we're camping in Australia in summer, gas is the only alternative, and it is the best alternative. Which brings me to my next video. But before I talk about that, I just wanted to have a shout out to Western Australia. At the moment, they're halfway through a heat wave. They've got really bad bushfires over there. I just wanted to say I love you guys. I'm thinking about all of you, and I hope you stay really safe. Get out. Just get out if you can. See, a lot of people stay behind and try and save their houses and think, oh, they can go at the last minute. But the problem with bushfires is it's not the fire, it's the smoke. And if you leave it too long, you can't see your way out to drive. And unfortunately, some of our worst bushfires you see later, all these cars banked up and all off the road and that, all burnt to a crisp because they couldn't find their way out. They couldn't see because of the smoke. So if you're not embellowed in smoke yet, get out. But please, my friends, I love you all. We're all thinking of you here in South Australia. I hope you all pull through it and you all stay safe. Much love. Okay, next video I'm going to do is I have bought a U-Butte gas camp oven. The whole bells and whistles. So the next video we're going to do is I'm going to open up the box. We're going to set the whole thing up. We're going to find out if it's good or not, what it can do. I'll cook a few things in it, and we'll really give it a run through the ringer. And if it's really good, you'll see it every time we go camping. I'll be using it. So I'm really, really excited about it because it's the first time I've actually had a proper oven to go camping with, and it should be really exciting. So that's what the next video is going to be. So hopefully I gave you a few tips and tricks tonight. I can't give you too many because a lot of stuff I need to show you when we're out and about. But hopefully it might start getting your juices flowing and you might think, hey, why not go on a camping trip with your kids? Why not? So thanks heaps for watching. Have yourselves an awesome night. And you know me, I'll be back really soon. Bye.